All right, welcome ladies and gentlemen to week number 82. My name is Mr. McLogan and this is Open Live Q&A, and I already said, but it's the week number 82, which I am very happy to be able to do. Every Sunday night at 9 p.m. I go live and I answer questions. I'm going to go over some questions that were submitted previously to this live stream using my link, which I have pinned in the chat. So if you do have questions coming up throughout the school year that you would like for me to be able to solve, then go ahead and use that link and submit your questions. I go ahead and try to do as many as I can, but it is very important to try to be as detailed and explicit exactly what you need help with. So what we're going to do for this live stream is we're actually going to do some sum and difference formulas. It's kind of funny. A couple problems all kind of came away from different students. So we're going to work on using an identity with the sum and difference formulas. We're going to use the sum and difference, are actually just going to evaluate using the tangent. And then we are also going to do a logarithms problem. So those are going to be my three problems that I'm going to cover. And again, then after that, if you guys have any additional questions that you would like for me to be able to address, I'll be happy to go ahead and answer any additional questions, whatever I can at the end of the live stream. But I want to get right into things to be able to, for those of you that are interested in these questions, to kind of get started. And then whatever questions I can be able to address afterwards, I'll be more than happy to do that. Also wanted to let you guys know that I have my free pre-calculus course as well, which is also in the description, which I'll go ahead and actually, I forgot to add this into the chat. Let me go ahead and do that. For those of you that are taking pre-calculus, I designed kind of like a 4-week kind of getting prepared for pre-calculus. I know some of you are starting school maybe a little bit earlier than that, but that's perfectly fine. This is something that you can definitely use throughout the year. Actually, what I do is actually, some students use it as like a summer assignment, but I actually kind of use this, break it up throughout the year. But if you are taking pre-calculus, it is absolutely free. Feel free to go ahead and take a look. There's a ton of examples. There's some diagnostic tests to be able to see how well you are prepared for pre-calculus and all the content. And then there's just a lot of skills, a lot of problems to get you prepared for what pre-calculus entails. And again, it's not going to cover everything that you need to know as you prepare for pre-calculus, but it's a good foundation. It's a good start. And also wanted to let you know that even if you're taking calculus or algebra 2, there's a lot of problems that I think everybody would benefit from there. So let's go ahead and get into the questions. Again, guys, the link that is pinned in the chat, if you do have any questions, feel free to go ahead and submit them there. And every Sunday night at 9 p.m., I will be going live. Well, hello, Hella and Panaf Singh. Good to have you guys on. Thank you so much for joining for tonight. So let's go ahead and Jacob and Peppy Frog, AP pre-calculus. Yeah, I think I'm not sure if AP pre-calculus has come out, but I do know that that's one thing they were looking at as actually providing a advanced placement for pre-calculus. All right, and hello, Dylan. Good to have you on. Thank you so much. All right, so let's go ahead and get into these questions, guys, and then I will further say hi to all of you that have hopped on the chat. All right, So for the first one is to prove the cosine of 100, I'm assuming that is in degrees, 180 degrees minus x minus sine of 90 minus x. All right, so, oh man, I'm guessing everybody's chat is now coming in. So Jacob and Dylan and Mike and CVX and Mr. Gamelox and you mad, Algebra 2 hard, it all depends, and Skinny, Alexis and Jay and Richie. Well, hello guys. I'm going to see if you can submit. You can submit a question, Richie. I'm not going to be able to get to any more tonight than these three. I want to make sure I get right into the chat. I do apologize, guys, that the chat was just a little bit delayed. And the how do you explain I'm not teaching calculus this year, but you can go ahead and submit calculus questions. And I have a ton of playlists as well on there. All right, so let's go and get into the questions, guys. And then if you have any other questions that you already just want to chat, and after that, I will be taking any questions from on there as well. All right, so what we're going to do is when we're trying to prove an identity, we want to make sure one side is going to look exactly like the other side. So one of the things that I can do is I can expand using the sum and difference formulas. Now, sometimes we can work on one side or work on both sides. I'm just going to work on here on this left side using the sum and difference formula and kind of see where that takes me. So if I was going to use the difference formula here, that's going to give me a, let's see, cosine of 180. And therefore that's going to be a cosine of x, and that'll be plus a sine of 180 degrees times the sine of x. Oh, I am so sorry. That is, I forgot to actually answer the first question that a student did submit. I kind of skipped over it. I apologize. I didn't write down your name either. The student did actually have a problem, but they have tips for how to remember math. So a quick little tip that you can kind of go through. I just made a video, obviously, on preparing, getting better at math. And I think I probably talked some of these things on there. But I think when you're remembering math, I think it's very important to rather than trying to, try to memorize everything in one, kind of swoop, is to really try to go over and over and over again with the content. I think in small little chunks is going to be much better than trying to, just memorize like, how to do all of your homework or how to prepare for a test. So I think the more that you practice in smaller chunks, if you're doing something, maybe just do like 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes after school, 10 minutes at night. The more often you're going to be working on some of those things, working on some of those problems and making it a little bit easier for you, I think it's going to help you remember things a lot easier. They're just going to be a little bit more natural. And again, like break them down into chunks, and do them frequently. Also, just don't once you feel like you have something, make sure that you go back and review stuff. Like go back to those previous content, and constantly review that. Like every, Sunday or Wednesday, you should be reviewing stuff, even that keep on going back and reviewing. Through the whole year, you should always be spiral reviewing and looking over stuff. And I think that's really going to help you throughout the year. All right. There goes that. Okay, so now we can go ahead and simplify this. And the way that we're going to simplify this is using our unit circle. Okay, so I have a cosine of 180 degrees, okay? And that is actually going to be let's see, that's negative 1, 0. Okay, so that's 180 degrees is right there, right? All right. So therefore, that's going to be a negative, and just cosine of x can't evaluate that, so it's going to be a negative cosine of x. And then sine of 180, well, the sine is the y-coordinate, right? That's the x-coordinate, that's the y-coordinate, so that's going to be 0. So that's plus a 0 times the sine of x. And that's a negative sine of 90 minus x. Now, you could say this is using the cofunction identity, which would work as well. And therefore, that's going to be a negative cosine of x. Now, we can actually prove that this is going to equal a cosine of x. And again, I might as well just go and do that. You could say that using the cofunction identity, this is like cosine of x is equal to the sine of 90 minus x. And that's what we call the cofunction identity. Now, if you want to prove that it is the cofunction identity, again, you just use the sum and difference formula again. What you do in this case, though, is you could say sine of 90 minus x using the sum and difference formula. That's going to be sine of 90. Oh, come on. If I remember it, sine of 90 cosine of x minus the sine of x cosine of 90. Okay, so now let's go and see what this is. Cosine of 90, now again, that's going to be 90 degrees right here, which is what, 0, 1, right? So the 90 degrees is going to be 1. So that's going to be cosine of x, and then cosine of 90, it's the x-coordinate, that's going to be 0. So therefore, you can see that that is just cosine of x. So we have minus cosine of x, and you can see obviously negative cosine of x is equal to negative times the cosine of x. So therefore, you can see that this has been verified. All right, now let's go ahead and do one with tangent. Now this one's completely different because this one, they're giving us our angles. So they're giving us an alpha and a beta, and they're giving us some ratios using trigonometric functions, sine of A and cosine of B. So we're gonna have to attack this one a little bit differently. And the way that we're gonna do that is rather than evaluating using the unit circle, we're actually gonna create the triangles. So let's just draw these triangles. Now these triangles are within some restrictions. All right, so rather than using degrees, which you did in this last problem, we're actually, you can see they're restricted within radians. So we have, if here's 0, pi halves, pi, 3 pi halves, and then all the way around would be 2 pi. All right, so this angle A is going to be between pi halves and pi. So that's going to be in what we call the second quadrant. Okay, and again, remember sine is opposite over adjacent, so it's going to be 8 over 17. Is that going to be 15? I forgot my thing. I forgot to 17 squared using the little Pythagorean theorem minus 64 is going to be 15. Yep, okay. So then using the Pythagorean theorem, we can get that to be 15. Now, again, be careful, though, because since it's in the second quadrant, right, what else do we also know? We also know that it's going to be a negative, right, because it's, you're going to the left. Now, over here, we have b, and that is in between 3/2 and pi, 2 pi, I'm sorry. So that's going to be over here. Okay, so we'll call that angle b. And then we have 5 over 13. And then this is a Pythagorean triple, at least I remember. I didn't remember the other one. And nope, sorry. That's going to be 13. That means that's going to be 12. But again, since we're going down, right, that's going to be that's the 13. That's going to be a negative 12. So it's very important that you understand these restrictions, because if you look at this on a coordinate grid, in the second quadrant, the horizontal is negative, and in the fourth quadrant, the vertical is negative, right? And that makes all the difference. Now, the tangent formula for the sum and difference is going to be, if I remember correctly, let's see here. So I have a plus b. So that's going to be the tangent of a plus the tangent of b, all divided by 1 minus tangent of a times tangent of b. Now, I wasn't sure if I was going to remember that, so let's look at if I got that correct. A plus, yep, awesome, I got it. Okay, so now all we're simply going to do, it just says evaluate, right? So all we're simply going to do now is just plug in our tangent for our a and our b based on these two triangles. And again, be careful with the negatives. So in this first one here, we have tangent of a, so that's going to be 8 over negative 15. Okay, and that's going to be plus a tangent over here, which is going to be negative 12 over 15, or negative 12 over 5. All right, and that's going to be all over 1 minus, and then we have, let's say, a negative. I'll just put the negative on the bottom, but it doesn't really matter where the negative is, but whatever. So I'll do 8 over negative 15 times a negative 12 over 5. Okay, so now let's go ahead and simplify this. Okay, so if I was going to combine like terms here, I could go ahead and get a common denominator, right? So that's going to give me a negative 8 over 15. And let's see, that's going to be plus a what? A negative 36. Negative 36 over 15. And then if I multiply these, doesn't look as well. That's going to be 80, 96. I don't really want to add that, but let's, all right. That's 80, so that's what, 96, so it's 1. Now, negative times negative is a positive, so that's going to be 1 minus a 96, and that's going to be over a 75. Okay. Now, you could just multiply a 15 on the top of everything, but you know what? I'm going to go ahead and simplify this fraction a little bit further. There's a couple different ways you could probably do this, and I'm not sure if my way is going to be the fastest, but I'll just say my way. What I'm about to do here is the one that would kind of make at least the most amount of sense to me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine my fractions up top, and so therefore that's a negative 44, and if I'm making a mistake, please let me know. So that's going to be negative 44, and then I'm going to do a 75 over 75 minus a 96 over 75. All right, and that's going to be a, let's see, a negative 21 over 75. And then now you can see that what I have is a fraction divided by another fraction. So when you have a fraction divided by another fraction, you can just multiply by the reciprocal, right? So that's going to be the same thing as negative 44 over 15 times a 75 over negative 21. All right, and now you can see that 15 goes into 75. Let's see, that's going to be 5 times. right? And let's see, 44 times 5 divided by 21. That's not going to be, I think that's going to be it. Yeah. All right. So then if I multiply this, that's not a negative. Please let me know, guys, if you're checking my work. So I am getting a negative 220 over 21. That's a negative or a negative, actually, so that should be a positive. That's what I have. Yeah. All right. I only got one more question left, guys, that has been pre-submitted. Again, if you do have questions, feel free to go ahead and use the link. Otherwise, guys, I will get into my last question here. So this one says, which of the following equations could be used when solving a 64 raised to the x minus 1 equals 8 times the square root of 8? Okay. So what I'm immediately seeing, I do see logarithms are used. What I would do in this problem is I don't really want to deal with this radical, right? So if I was to kind of like, if I was to put this back in there, like under the radical, instead of putting this, like instead of this out, I would just have to square it to put it back in there, right? So therefore, I can rewrite this as 64. Let me show you. Okay, I can rewrite this. That's the same thing as a8 squared times 8, right? Because basically, if you take the square root of 8, right, using the properties of logarithms, so they just give you 8. So therefore, that's going to be a 64 times 8. And 64 times 8 is 512. Okay, so now I have 64x minus 1, which I'm getting somewhere here. Now that's going to give me a 512. And I'm seeing like the base of 64 and 512. That's going to be very similar to each other, right? And what I'm going to do actually is now I'm recognizing, well, why don't if I can use the one-to-one property, right? And what the one-to-one property says, if I have 3 to the x equals 3 squared, well, then x is equal to 2. All right, so what I want to do is I want to get them to be the same base. Now, I don't want to deal with the square root. I want to go ahead and rewrite this as a rational power. Okay, now I got to see, all right, I know 64, I can rewrite that as 8 squared, right? You could also write it as 4 cubed, I believe. Okay, but you always want to do the highest number first. So let's go ahead and do, if I did 8 squared, right, that's 64, and let's try 8 cubed. And what do you know? That's 512. Perfect. So I can rewrite this as 8 squared times a x minus 1 equals, and this would be an 8 cubed raised to the 1/2. Now, just like I had here, when you have the same bases raised to powers, now I can say, well, this is going to be a 2 times x minus 1 equals a 3 times 1/2. And then you can see if you just kind of simplify this a little bit further, you would have 2x minus 2 equals 3/2, which I believe is answer C. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is it for the questions. Again, if you guys have more questions, I will be back next week to answer your questions. Otherwise, guys, I am happy to kind of address maybe any other questions that you guys may have that has popped in the, or just any kind of general questions from there. Austin says, major shit onto your Discord. It's been great help and their feedback. Recommend anybody who's type of math to check it out. Well, thank you very much. Yes. Again, I can't get to everybody's questions, guys, but if you, the one best thing that I enjoy is having a community where people can help each other out, and it's not just reliant on me. So if you guys do have any questions that I'm not able to get to, if you submit your questions, I do apologize. I'm not able to, answer every question. Please feel free to check out the Discord. But just remember, guys, the Discord community, it's a community, and what I mean by that is if you're just going to be, shouting out answers or just problems like help me with my stuff, you're not helping other people with that. It's not going to serve as a very long-term solution for you, right? And it's a give and take with anything. So I think it's always very important if you guys can, if let's say you need help in calculus, like help students in Algebra 1, if you need help in stats, help students in geometry, whatever questions you can do. And we all know everybody has, their time. that they're able to do things. But I think it's very helpful to have a community that you can rely on when things get tough or when you need the help. But just remember, you always want to be able to put that your time and your effort ahead of that. So therefore you can rely on a community like we have in the Discord, which again, the link, if you are interested, is in the chat with the Ask Questions here. Best time-related strategies for lots of homework. I would do your homework as often or as quickly as you can from like when it's assigned. I would highly recommend not waiting or delaying anything with your homework. From on there. I love how I don't fact memorize. Yeah, I don't think we should be memorizing stuff. Hey, sir, I'm having problems forming inequality equations on word problems. DARPA, it's really hard for me to like kind of make up questions. So if you have something that I can help you out with, it's much easier for me to be able to go from there. So I don't know. Also, I don't know where to help you or where are some things I can get for you. So just let me know if you have a question on that, submit it using the link and I'll be more than happy to address from there. All right. Well, Algebra 2, history, calculus. Yeah, from on there. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that is it for this. Well, thank you so much, Ethan, and it's good to have you back on. I know it's been a while since you've joined in a live stream, and I've been keeping going through the summer, but I'm excited for another school year, and thank you so much for the super chat. I greatly appreciate that. And Horace, I am so sorry that you just joined back in from there. What type of math were you just teaching? I was teaching all over. I was teaching, some logarithms, which would be in algebra 2, college algebra, pre-calculus, and then I had some trig, which you can definitely see in trigonometry course or pre-calculus from on there. The tips for taking Calc 1, taking a college course on it with no pre-calc background. I would highly recommend that you get some practice with the trig, because that's one of the things that I think students, obviously if you have some algebra 2 background, that will help you in the calculus realm, but you're definitely going to fall behind with the trigonometry. So I'd make sure that you have like the unit circle and the trigonometric identities. Kind of what I did up here is, for these two problems would be very helpful for you. Yes, I totally agree with you, Ethan. My life has been very busy since we had our third kid, and it's been kind of difficult getting getting back into this rhythm and routine. But I'm looking forward to getting the school year for sure. And yeah, no worries, Addie, but I'm so glad to have you back on. It's at 4 a.m. Wow. That is awesome. I'm so happy to have you on. And yeah, I'm finally starting to get back into a little bit of my routine where I can wake up a little bit early and get into, get some work done and stuff like that throughout the day. So it is, I definitely enjoy waking up early, and maybe you're waking up or you're just enjoying some stream. It's either way. That's awesome. Yes. For the last question, here is a suggestion. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I thank you so much, Professor Amanda Sartre. I greatly appreciate that. Yeah, I think that's definitely then you can just rewrite that from on there. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I like that because that's not where my brain initially went. So I think that's definitely a much helpful way to like kind of see it. And it's kind of funny. It was kind of like the same thing like when I was looking into the fractions. I'm like, there's a lot of different ways I can go about it. And I think that's also important too, that, just to kind of talk on a tangent, a lot of times when I do teach students with like math tips or, or how to do a problem, it's kind of funny because everybody's like, oh, well, there's an easier way or I do it this way. And I'm like, yeah, that's, a lot of the things that when I teach or I do, it's like a lot of it's like how I have understood things and I have internalized things, right? And I think it's always important. I enjoy what I love about teaching is you can see how different students interpret or they understand a problem or they can, maybe apply something that you never did because you just see it one way and you work through it that same way. And I think it's important too that, even though there might be some tricks or some faster ways to do problems, you also got to like feel comfortable with the way that you know how to do things. I mean, always be open to, looking at how, easier ways, or maybe not even easier ways, but just maybe or faster ways or other ways to understand the problem. But also, don't feel bad too as well if there's a way that you understand and how things are working together, feel like work with that. I think there's a lot of times when I'm, going through with problems, I'm like, I know there's multiple ways I can approach the problem, but I'm like, hey, here is how I best understand it. I'm going to work through it and I can explain it. And I think that's something that when students, they feel like there's always has to be one way, or there always has to be one best way. And they get frustrated when sometimes that one way that might be taught or how it's explained is not the way that they know it or they understand it. So I always think it's be flexible, be open-minded when looking at different people's problems and how they're solving them. Matthew, yes, I'm getting there. Working my way up to the million subscribers. So I'm definitely looking into adding some new videos for this upcoming school year. And, it's been 10 years I've been making content online. So yeah, it's definitely some cool stuff. So I'm going to do some different things with these live streams. I did want to, previously in the live streams, it was taking me like an hour to do them. And I was like, man, this is it's getting tough with kids at home and nighttime to be able to do an hour. But I really enjoy getting the live streams. I do want to do a little bit more, which I, kind of plan on doing. Not everything it needs to be with you guys, all posting questions, but I just enjoy, having the questions. Just remember when you do submit your questions, guys, just to be very detailed and direct, and explicit. So I understand exactly what it is. And again, I'm not going to be able to answer everybody's question. And that's why the Discord community is available for you guys. Thank you, Kishan. And hopefully I got to your question that helped you out. And Alexis, yes, I am making, some shorts. That's kind of what my other channels, are about. I did do a couple of shorts. If there's a couple of them are still on my channel. If you can go back and find them, but it was a little bit different audience were watching the shorts than typically people that watch videos on my channel. So that's why I created the extra channels, and those extra channels, I'm going to be doing some different, those are more, those additional channels are going to be for, students that only want that certain content, and that's going to be organized with shorts or with more directed questions that are just focused on those topics. So I'm still going to be posting on my main channel. I'm still going to be posting through all different content areas. But if you are looking for like more examples, kind of like what I'm doing in the live streams and shorts, then that's going to be on those different channels. Yes, thank you so much, Addie, for doing that. You're awesome. Quarantine been for you? Well, quarantine hasn't been as bad for me than never part. I mean, obviously it was really tough when school and the school year was going, but ever since, we went to face early last year. So I live in Florida, and obviously Florida was, say good, say bad, whatever it was. We got opened up pretty easily, or not easily, but rather quickly than other parts of our country. So that was very helpful, I think, in my opinion, at least from a teacher and learning perspective, to have that face-to-face interaction, because it was very, very difficult teaching online, as I'm sure many of you that have been learning online can definitely attest to. But, and then, yeah, everything's been relatively open. I mean, I don't know, there's more cases, I guess, and we might have some more restrictions coming down, but, we'll just kind of see from that case. I think as right now, everything's looking to be rather opened for the school year, and we'll kind of see how that plays out. I mean, I don't have an opinion much, one way or the other. I think it's just, I'm really excited to, see students face to face. But in addition to that, there's a lot of variables to give you a math term. There's a lot of variables that play into everything. So it's not just about, education or learning or COVIDs or, all that kind of stuff. There's just a lot of play. And so, it's tough decisions. Hey, Charles, good to have you in. And yes, it's been a while since you joined in. So I'm happy to have you on. Lex says, have you entered links that will help with other topics than math? No, I do not have any other topics than math. That is the only content that I make videos for. Sorry. Alexa's okay. Yes, everything is going well. We are getting ourselves ready ready for the upcoming school year. So I am going through my content, getting all that done, and then also just getting through my strategy or my content strategy. So definitely looking forward to guys to making some more videos and getting them up on the stream. But again, guys, if you have questions as the school year is coming up and you definitely want to submit those questions, then go ahead and take a look at the link that's in the chat, or feel free to go ahead and drop into the Discord as well. I'll be definitely adding in some presence in there as well. Lil Bang MC, can you describe law of cosines? I can definitely probably help you out, but if you can have a little bit more of a description on that, that'd be greatly appreciated. Go ahead and submit in the link if maybe you have a problem or something specifically. That's a great question. I think I might want to do another math challenge. We'll kind of see how that's going to work. Yeah, I haven't decided, but I did want to do another math challenge. I was thinking about doing it again. So we'll kind of see. We'll see what that does. I'll have to do some thinking because it was really fun kind of doing that challenge at the end of the year for March. So maybe I'll try to do another challenge for you guys. So I know that was definitely one thing fun, even though it kind of like ended with a dud at the end, just because then my child was born and I was so hard to like I wanted to do a couple of things, the live streams for you, and it just became like so much. But hopefully now everything will be a little bit easier. How about you? Senior high school for pre-con. Now I have to take in college. Well, awesome. Yellow. Good to have you on, and wish you the absolute best of luck. And yeah, I will be here, happy to answer all of your questions. All right, guys, I am going to sign off for the night, but I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you next week. Cheers.